Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
What is up? Welcome into the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Dougherty. As always, this podcast is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. We have a great show planned for you today on a Wednesday. Lots of stuff to talk about in the Major League spectrum, Major League Baseball world, all around baseball. But good stuff talking about today, as we had the Red Sox in Los Angeles to face Shohei Ohtani. We have two teams. We have the Indians and the Twins actually down in Puerto Rico playing a series, the Puerto Rico series. Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor was the homecoming king down there in Puerto Rico, and we'll get to him pretty soon as we continue on with the show. In the first segment, we're going to talk about the Red Sox and how they're just continuing to swing the bats. We'll also highlight and recap some of the games from Monday and Tuesday. In the second segment, we're going to talk about Anthony Rizzo and his comments that came out yesterday regarding the length of the Major League Baseball season and the fact that he'll be advocating for a shorter season, and give you my thoughts on that. And then in the third segment, we'll likely be talking about the games in Puerto Rico, the one coming up tonight, and then also I'll talk about just what's going on down there with Lindor, and then obviously the impact of baseball in Puerto Rico and how much it means to the people of Puerto Rico down there. It's a big deal. I mean, I advise you to go watch the highlight of Francisco Lindor's home run yesterday. I mean, it gives you chills, just chills. And when the ball went over the fence, you just heard the stadium was shaking down there in San Juan. So just keep your eyes open for that and go look at that highlight. I advise you to do so if you have the ability to do that, or go look at it on Twitter or Facebook or the MLB.com app, however you go look at your highlights. But definitely go check that out if you haven't yet already. All right, so getting to the games that happened on Monday. We'll go there first. Happened after I left you on Monday. All right, I know we kind of went over some of the pitching performances or pitching matchups. I know we had Luis Severino was going in New York against the Marlins. The Yankees, talk about a volatile team. We're going to get to their rival, the Red Sox, and how well they've started off the season. But the Yankees sitting right now, I think they're still sitting at 500, 8-8, at 500 win percentage. I mean, just very volatile team right now. They won on Monday 12-1. Didi Gregorius hit two more home runs. Aaron Judge hit a fly ball that would be an out in a lot of stadiums, but got over the wall in Yankee Stadium because that's just how the right field wall works there. I guess it just never ceases to amaze me how much of a pop up or just normal fly ball that ball was. Go watch the highlight of Aaron Judge's home run. He just flicked it over the fence. I mean, that guy is strong. Don't get me wrong, he is a strong man, but that'd be an OUT out in a lot of ballparks. All right. So they won that game 12-1. Luis Severino looked pretty good. Only obviously he actually didn't even allow the run. The run was actually unearned and came later in the game. Severino went 6 innings, allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, struck out 8 of the Marlins batters in that game on Monday. Continuing on to Major League Baseball, Mets and Nationals. They played. This is the Bryce Harper game. I don't know if you guys have seen the highlight. It went all around the highlight shows on Monday night. Bryce Harper has now joined the ranks of the strong men. Talk about a strong guy. He hit a home run, and half of his bat flew off. The other half, it broke in half. His bat just absolutely shattered, but the ball went about 420 feet over the wall in right center field at Citi Field. I mean, it wasn't a cheapy home run either. He definitely earned that one. His half his bat, the whole bat broke right above his thumbs the handle of the bat, and he was just holding them. I mean, I remember watching Barry Bonds hit a home run. I think so. Barry's done it. I know Andrew Jones has done it. It happened a couple years ago. Nelson Cruz did it. He's another big guy. And then I think somebody did it in spring training this year or last year. But yeah, that's pretty impressive. Go watch that highlight of Bryce Harper hitting the home run at Citi Field. His 8th of the year now, as he leads all of Major League Baseball in dingers with that 8 home runs mark right now, as we are only about 16, or some teams only have 15 games in because of the weather, maybe even less, but 16, between 15 and 17 games for most teams, as he's already at 8 home runs. Got like that for a guy who's going into his free agent season, or this is his free agent season. He's going into his first bout of free agency, first round of free agency during the off season, and I will definitely expecting him to get lots of suitors, especially from the big markets like the Cubs, maybe the Giants, maybe the Nationals give him a big deal. I don't think he's going to be a guy who's going to take a hometown discount to stay in Washington, where, let's face it, they just haven't been able to get out of their own way when it comes to postseason runs. But this is a big season for them that you never know, as they were able to avenge at least one of their losses they took at home to the Mets with a win over New York, in New York, 8-6, as they scored 6 times in the 8th inning. They were losing that game the whole game. They were down 6-1 going into the 8th inning, and they scored 6 times in that 8th inning. The Nationals did, whether it was a couple singles, a couple bases loaded walk, a couple bases loaded walks, and then Howie Kendrick tops it off in the 9th inning with the home run to make it 8-6. So Nationals got to like that. Nationals fans definitely got to like that. We're going to go over to Atlanta, and the Phillies and Braves had their game. That was one of the pitching matchups I highlighted on Monday. Julio Teheran was faced off against Aaron Nola, and it definitely panned out. A pitcher's duel. It was only 2-1. Teheran looks pretty good, as he only allowed the 1 run on a home run by, who was that home run? By Odubel Herrera. Hit a home run in the very first inning, and that was about it for Julio Teheran. So he's got to like that if you're a Braves fan. He went 6 innings, allowed that 1 run on 5 hits, walked 3 and struck out 9. And that's definitely going to be looking good, as his ERA is trying to get back down to where he usually has it. So, but then obviously, if you're a Philly fan, you got to just think your bat's got to wake up a little bit there. You get the 1 home run by Herrera, but then that was about it for the whole game. Your good right-handed pitcher, Aaron Nola, was going, and he went 6 innings, only allowed 2 runs on 4 hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. So he was pretty economical, only threw 85 pitches in 6 innings before he got taken out. And that was about it. A low-scoring game, close game in Atlanta on Monday. Other than that, we had another good matchup. That's right. James Paxton and Giles Keuchel, the 2 lefties, went in Seattle. And there were, again, just a couple of home runs. Paxton gave up 1 to George Springer, and Keuchel gave up 1 to Nelson Cruz, and then Keuchel gave up another an RBI double in the 6th. That was all the scoring in that game, as Paxton went 6 innings, allowed that 1 run on 3 hits, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts, just the 1 home run to George Springer. And Keuchel looked pretty good as well, as he went 8 innings. He was the only pitcher when that's a complete game. When you're the away starter and you are losing, you only have to go 8 innings. 8 innings, 6 hits allowed. I gave up those 2 runs. Did have a walk, 6 strikeouts, and Nelson Cruz did take him deep. So the Mariners got a nice close game win on that one, as they improved to 9-5. Astros dropped to 10-7. Other than that, we had 3 games postponed. I know the Blue Jays and Royals. That was the thing. I think I was talking about on Monday that we had some stadiums with a roof. In Toronto, they have a roof, but there was so much ice on I don't know if you guys have ever seen. Go look at a picture of where the Rogers Center is in Toronto. It's right in the shadow of the big CN Tower in Toronto, the big observatory tower right next to the stadium, and there was ice on the tower, and it fell, probably a few hundred feet, or meters if you're in Canada, of course, and it tore a hole or damaged the roof of the of the Rogers Center with the ice. So, I mean, they were another Twitter accounts like, our game is, due to weather, our game is going to be played on time because we have a roof. Oh, just kidding. Sorry, our roof got damaged because of icicles falling hundreds of feet to damage our roof from the big thing that's sitting outside our stadium called the CN Tower. So they played a doubleheader on Tuesday, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But that was pretty much all the notable games for Monday that I would like to cover. Like I said, they played the Blue Jays and Royals played 2 games on Tuesday, yesterday. Blue Jays took both of those. One was in a blowout fashion. They won the first game. I believe that was the first game, 11-3. And they played again and winning that one in a walk-off fashion, 5-4 in the 10th inning. Luke Malley scored Kevin Pillar on a sharp line drive to win the game in that one. Getting over to the Yankees again. So, like I talked about before, little volatile team right now, and they lost 9-1 after winning 11-1 on Monday. They lose 9-1 on Tuesday, only getting 1 run across on a nice start by the young Yarlin Garcia. Very nice left-handed starter for the Marlins. Has had a nice start to a season, still sub-1 ERA, which is actually second in the league among qualifying starters, qualified pitchers. He went 5 innings, allowed only 1 hit, no runs, 5 walks though, and 2 strikeouts. That's probably the reason why he only lasted 5 innings. He did have 92 pitches before he got removed from the game. For the Yankees, Masahiro Tanaka not looking too good right now. Now he's 2-2. He's talk about up and down. Again, another reason to say the Yankees are up and down. Tanaka, either he's on and he's got that good 2-seamer, good slider dipping down, biting down beneath the zone, or he hangs a lot of stuff and cannot get that off speed over, and he gets vulnerable with that fastball. And he only went 5 innings, allowed 7 runs, only 6 earned, but still a pretty good 6 earnings right there on 8 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts to give up a home run to JT Realmuto, a 3-run homer for the Marlins. That's nice. I like JT Realmuto. He's a good catcher. We'll see how much longer he lasts on that Marlins team. All right, as we continue going on, Chad Bettis had a nice start for the Rockies. Didn't allow any runs. Rockies win that game in a shutout over the Pirates 2-0 on Tuesday. It was Bettis going 7 1/3 innings. Only allowed 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Gotta like that for the Rockies. They scored twice off of, is that Trevor Williams? Yes, it is. Trevor Williams has had a nice start to the season. They gave him his first loss of the season. He went 6 innings. Only allowed 2 runs on 4 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. The Rockies scored they scored on an out by Carlos Gonzalez, a little fielder's choice, and then Ryan McMahon got a base hit to knock in Ian Desmond. So that was only 2 runs in that game. Now the game in Puerto Rico happened yesterday. I think they're playing 2 in Puerto Rico, or 2 games in Puerto Rico. It was the Indians and the Twins. Corey Kluber went for the Indians, pitched very well as he limited the Twins to only 5 runs, or 1 run on 5 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, and 6 2/3 innings of work for the Cleveland Indians. Twins can only scratch one run across him. The Indians, though, hit 5 home runs, I believe. They had Lindor, Jose Ramirez, Michael Brantley, make that 3 home runs, or 4 home runs, and Yonder Alonso did hit a home run in Puerto Rico. You'll watch his game. He won right down the line at the stadium there in San Juan, and they had to review it because the foul poles aren't as tall as they usually are in the major league stadiums, and they had to make sure it stayed fair, so they confirmed that one. But the big one was the Francisco Lindor home run I was talking about at the beginning of the show. That was absolute mayhem after that home run. I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't call it a bomb. It was kind of a skyscraper. Definitely got up there and just got into the first row of seats out there in right field. But I mean, when it did clear that fence, you could just see, the pandemonium going around that stadium, as he is the native Puerto Rican. There was actually a few native Puerto Ricans. I believe the Twins have Eddie Rosario and Jose Barrios, are also native Puerto Ricans. But Lindor was definitely the darling of that game, and he was the homecoming king as they did introduced the teams in the lineups there before the game started. And when he was announced, he just got a massive, massive ovation. All right. Nationals did take another one from the Mets as they continue on their trek to avenge their sweep of the Mets sweep of them in the nation's capital. Now they come back and win another game 5-2. It was a Bryce Harper show again. Well, he did get an RBI on a sacrifice fly. Not quite the Bryce Harper show we got last time. But it was Gio Gonzalez pitched pretty well, went 5 1/3, scattered 8 hits, only allowed 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. And then Zach Wheeler went 6, allowed 3 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts in 6 innings of work. But the Mets weren't able to get this one as the Nationals took that one 5-2. All right. As we saunter on here, Cubs and Cardinals actually did get their game in. We'll talk about that in a little bit more in the next segment as we are coming to the end of this first segment here. I didn't get to the Red Sox quite yet, but we'll do that in the next segment. Lots of show left as we continue on here in the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I'll be right back with some more baseball news, scores, and updates.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I know I kind of mapped out our show at the beginning of the first segment. I might have to jumble it up a little bit because I was just running along there with those scores and highlights. I didn't even get to the Red Sox Angels game, so I'm going to have to flip some stuff around and talk about maybe we'll be able to get to that Anthony Rizzo stuff at the end of this segment. But I'm going to keep going with the scores, as we did have, again, a few more games to talk about. On Tuesday, the Cubs and Cardinals were able to get a game in after their first game on Monday was, I guess you could call it snowed out because it's still just the weather in Chicago. Maybe one of the reasons, but it's actually good. Well, I'll probably bring it back up later as a little segue. There's a little foreshadowing for what Anthony Rizzo has to say, but they did get the Cubs did drop this one by a score of 5-3 to the Cardinals. Cubs now dropping under 500 on the year. Cardinals now 3 games up over 500 at 10-7. So if you're a Cardinal fan, you gotta like that because you do not like when you lose to the Cubs. That's why you had Mike Matheny's job in hanging in the balance. But Adam Wainwright went 5 innings, allowed 1 run unearned on 4 hits, did walk 4, but struck out 5. As the bullpen did its job and limited the Cubs to only 2 more runs. And the Cardinals were able to take this one as they were able to get to Tyler Chatwood. He only went 4 2/3 innings, allowed only 1 hit, though. 2 runs on, walked 7. That's the problem. When you walk 7, you're probably going to give up a couple runs, even when you only give up 1 hit. That 1 hit probably will be a killer. Did strike out 7 as well. But Pedro Strop was also tagged for 3 runs later in that game, as the Cardinals took the lead and held it for the remainder of that contest. All right, getting to the Red Sox. Red Sox and Angels. We had Shohei Ohtani going on Tuesday after his start was canceled on Sunday due to some bad weather in Kansas City. And I don't know if that got to him or if anything happened, but he was not his normal. Well, I don't know if normal is the right word, but he wasn't able to carry on how he had been doing before. He's only had 2 starts. And they both were against the A's, who actually did score 10 runs yesterday. So the A's aren't that bad, but still the A's. The Red Sox are a little better, have a little better lineup. I would if we were able to put those side by side. The Red Sox beat up the Angels, 10-1 yesterday, scoring 5 runs in that third inning. Ohtani only lasted 2 innings. They said he was removed due to a blister that had resurfaced on his hand, on his pitching hand. So blisters are just commonality to pitchers. I was a pitcher, and you just have to deal with it. Hopefully they callus over, they get a little rough, and that's what looked like maybe it happened because I read and got reports saying that this blister had been around since he was in spring training, and then it healed up and was fine for the first 2 starts, and now it's come back, and that's why he only went 2 innings. But he did have a lot of pitches. He was already at 66 pitches through 2 innings, as he had to labor and to give up a few runs. He was tagged for a home run by Mookie Betts, the first of his 3 home runs on Tuesday night in Anaheim. Ohtani went 2 innings, allowed 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout to give the home run to Betts. But Betts, Mookie was on last night. He did not miss one. I don't think he missed a pitch. When he got a pitch to hit, because I think he went 3 for 3. Yeah, he went 3 for 3 with 3 home runs. He also walked twice. And what a start for him as he's back in the lineup on that top of that Red Sox lineup. You got to like that lineup right there. If you're a Red Sox fan, you got Mookie Betts, you got Andrew Benintendi batting after him, Hanley Ramirez, then you got J.D. Martinez in the cleanup spot, Rafael Devers hitting 5th, Eduardo Nunez, then you got Jackie Bradley Jr. hitting in the 8th slot, and make that the 7th slot, then Vasquez and Holt pulling up the rear. But yeah, that's a pretty long lineup when you can't even put power that far down. Jackie Bradley's got some nice power. He hit a home run yesterday, and so did Devers. He hit his 2nd of the year yesterday as well. But Mookie Betts, I advise go watch the highlights of that game. Mookie hit some missiles out of the stadium in Anaheim there, as the Red Sox were able to take care of the Angels 10-1. 2 teams have gotten off to very good starts. The Red Sox are 14-2 now, and the Angels are 13-4. So the Red Sox definitely looking like they're extending that lead, as they now have a 3-game lead over the Blue Jays in the American League East, 6 games clear of the Yankees. But we got not quite 150 games left, but 148 games left, as the Red Sox have played 16 games. You could do some math and find out how many games they have left, but it's a lot. So that's going to be my transition, is they do have a lot of games left. Get back to the fact that the Cubs, I segued again. Lots of games. Lots and lots of games. And back with we're talking about the Cubs first baseman, Anthony Rizzo, and the fact that he came out yesterday in support and advocating the shortening of the Major League Baseball season. Whether it's, he was saying it's too cold to play right now, there's too many snowouts or blizzards or rainouts, and the fact that he plays in Chicago doesn't really help. But yeah, no, he was definitely coming out and saying that there could definitely be shortening the games, whether the season starts at a different time or you cut them out amount of games per week down. I don't know. There's lots of ways to do it, whether you play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and have Monday through Wednesday be off all the time. That would definitely be interesting, throwing some wrenches into the, hitters are rhythm athletes. You got to be able to be in a rhythm and playing every day and being able to. What if you have a 0 for 4 game with 3 strikeouts on Sunday? You got to sit on that for 3 days before you get to play again on Thursday. If you go to that model, or if you just shorten the season altogether and say the playoffs start in September, or have the season start in May or something. That's probably what he would want, because it would definitely eliminate some of these rainouts, and you can get through, or snowouts, because even the game today in Chicago has already been postponed due to weather. The forecast has been set, and as you could tell in Chicago, whether it's going to snow or rain or whatever it may be, let's see what it's going to say. Yep, it's going to rain and then snow. It's going to snow coming up to game time. It's a 90% chance of snow in Chicago at 5 o'clock. Well, that's my time, but still, that's local time for them. Their game starts at 7 local time, so same thing, 4 o'clock here. It's a 90% chance of snowing in Chicago, or 80%. still a good chance of snowing. It's going to snow in Chicago, so no game today for the Cardinals and the Cubs, and maybe that's another reason why Rizzo is coming out and saying this kind of stuff, because I mean they didn't play yesterday, or I mean they didn't play on Monday. They did get a game in yesterday, but it was probably 40 degrees, and all these guys are wearing their full little head scarves or full head gear and everything to keep themselves warm. But yeah, no, it has been rough out there all over the country regarding some of this weather issues and getting games in. Did we have any games? We did actually have a full slate of games yesterday. There were actually 16 games played yesterday because the Blue Jays and Royals played twice. So, I mean, yeah, definitely something to advocate. I don't know. I have had time to think about the fact that you could shorten the season. I would probably eventually come out and say that I am in favor of it, though I would want to really find a well thought out alternative or idea of which way to do it. Whether you just, cut off a month from each end of the season. Is that what it's going to take? Or are you going to spread out games during the week? Which way are they going to do it? I don't think I like the whole spreading out games during the week. You got to play games every day, whether it's going to be from May to September or not. It's end of the season in August. So, yeah, I do agree that 162 games is quite a lot of games. It's a long haul. It's a grind. They don't call it the dog days of August for no reason, because you're hitting your 120th game. There's some guys out there who play all those games. So, we're getting there is this is the first year though we are having some differences in the schedule with the new collective bargaining agreement. The players were able to get passed through, where now there are I think they're doing 4 or 5 more off days. They started the season earlier this year actually to spread that out and give the teams more off days, and then all the days where teams will be traveling through different time zones, those games will be day games. So say the series ends on a Wednesday, and then you have to fly from New York back to San Diego. That game on Wednesday will be a 12 o'clock start local time, 12:45 or 12:30 start local time. And so you can get on that plane at whatever time it may be. It's actually, I think it's probably worse when you have to fly, because you are going to get some hours back when you're flying back to the West Coast, but still, when you're flying through time zones, no matter what, you're still going to, the jet lag is real. And when you're playing games every day, and you like, I know that we had a team last year fly from Atlanta to the West Coast, and after a night game, they didn't get land until 7 a.m. Local time on the West Coast, and they had a game that night. So it's kind of a rough one if you're a team and you're traveling all the time. I know it is chartered planes, it's all first class and such, but you're still sitting on an airplane and you're still in a tube, but up in the sky. So it's not the best thing. If you could just teleport, that'd be nice, but not quite yet. That's for my technology podcast. But yeah, I don't know if I agree with Anthony Rizzo quite yet. I like my when I don't get baseball, if my undisclosed team has an off day, I'm just like chomping the bit, waiting for them to get another game. Especially if they're on a losing streak, or even if they're on a winning streak. I'm like, come on, we're playing good. I want another game. Or come on, we need to get off the skid. Give me another game. Give me an opportunity for them to play well. I like the fact that there's games every day, but I'm not playing these games. The other guys are. So I don't have to deal with the daily grind of the Major League Baseball season. So I could see why Anthony Rizzo would say that they play too many games, there's too much baseball, and the fact that you have to do all this stuff to just prepare and then get to the game and have it just bang, 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 another one next day. All these series are getting shuffled around due to this weather, and it's saying probably because it's too cold. So, the reason there's lots of different reasons I can imagine why Anthony Rizzo is coming out and saying it got picked up all over the place. I saw this report where they're talking about it all over the ESPN, all over the local channels, all over Twitter, all over Bleacher Report when this Rizzo report came out. I don't know if Anthony Rizzo was actually expecting this to go quite as viral as it did, but when you start saying there needs to be those kind of changes to a Major League Baseball season coming from the mouth of a player, you should expect that especially a guy like Rizzo who plays with the Cubs on in a big market, has won a World Series, perennial all-star. It's going to get picked up, and people are going to start are going to notice that you said something like that. They start questioning, maybe this guy's right. Oh, he's crazy. This is the way it is. It's been great. We love baseball the way it is, but you have to. I would advise they take more of a pull from a lot of different players, because I want to see what the players really have to say about it. Players and coaches and people who are actually part of organizations that travel with the team every week and every day. Because there's lots of teams. I don't know, my undisclosed team, that's what they do. They're going to be having a lot of 3-city road trips this year, and that's all I'm seeing on my schedule as I look at it. They have right now they're in the middle of one, and then there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. That's 2 cities. So they got three 3-city road trips in a row, with obviously some homestands mixed in there. But yeah, they put these off days and they trying to spread out these off days and give teams more off days per month. You're going to see a lot more different kind of scheduling tactics, and they have to get those 162 games in somehow. So whether they're going to start listening to Anthony Rizzo, if Commissioner Manfred's going to take a little page out of his book, maybe can start considering that we're going to have to cut the season down, how much they're going to cut it down, how they're going to cut it down, where they're going to cut it down on the when it comes to what month they're going to cut it out of the season, or how they're going to start scheduling games. That's what I'm really interested in seeing, and I'll put my opinion really out there once those different kind of ideas surface, if they ever do. All right, enough about long baseball. When we like our baseball. I like baseball all the time, year-round baseball. Just kidding, but yeah, I don't know. I don't want it to be. I want it to be every day still, but I would understand it being if I say you cut out in April, you start the season in May, but then that would make the off season longer, and it'd be terrible, right? For all our baseball fans, we don't want a longer off season. We wait long enough. Okay. And especially through spring training, you guys know my comments on spring training and how after about a week or two, I'm just like, okay, we're ready for real baseball now. All right. When we come back for the next segment, the third segment of this show, we're going to be talking about some of the games coming up this week, and also touch on the game that happened in Puerto Rico, and talk about the Puerto Rican series down there between the Twins and the Indians, and the nice stuff baseball does down there when they come down to play in Puerto Rico, and the fact that it's a pretty cool deal. The fact that we're having some Puerto Rican series, especially with guys and teams that have some native Puerto Rican players. So we'll talk about that when we get back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. We have gone over lots of stuff in the last two segments. We talked about all the games that happened on Monday and Tuesday. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them, because it was just there's so many games going on. We highlighted the ones that I deemed fit to highlight in this show, and we also talked about some of the comments that Anthony Rizzo has come out and advocating for a shortened season, saying we played too many baseball games, played too much baseball. I don't like playing in the cold. It's cold here in Chicago. I don't want any more snow outs. Why don't we just wait till it's nicer weather? and start playing these games, which is not a terrible argument, honestly. Well, speaking of weather and some games going on, we have a couple games that are happening in Puerto Rico. They played the first one on yesterday, with Carlos Beltran coming out to throw the first pitch. We had a nice performance from Francisco Lindor as he homered in that game and sent that crowd into quite a tizzy. I mean, like I said before, go watch the highlight of Lindor. Yeah, so I mean, go watch the highlight of Lindor. That was quite a big home run he hit against the Twins. I mean, just the regular season game. The games do count. I know they were saying on the broadcast that Terry Francona could have started. They had Corey Kluber going, so he had Yan Gomes start at catcher, who is Corey Kluber's personal catcher, pretty much. They know each other. He's pitched to him a bunch, and I mean that's kind of how it works sometimes in baseball. You have a person to give guy who just hooks up with the catcher very well, and Yan Gomes will get the start when it's Kluber's start on the mound. But they had another catcher in Roberto Perez, who is a native of Puerto Rico. But this was not just a random exhibition in somewhere else on different soil. It was a real baseball game held in Puerto Rico, and they're going to play another one today on Wednesday, and it's going to be another good one between the Twins and the Indians. It will be, Jose Barrios will be going for the Twins. He's a big deal down there in Puerto Rico. They like him, Jose Barrios. To me, during the media engagements on Tuesday, he was being surrounded by a gaggle of fans and media attention, media personnel, and also Carlos Carrasco. Carlos Carrasco will be going for the Indians. He has actually had a nice little start to his season. Both pitchers have, as Carrasco is sitting at 3-0. Barrios at 2-1, but Barrios posting the better ERA at 2.81. Carrasco just a tad under 3.5. So good game coming up for the Twins and Indians. But I mean, for Major League Baseball, this has got to be a big deal for them. A nice. I mean, you have the man in charge of Major League Baseball, Robert Manfred, down there for the series. He came into the TV booth during the coverage that Fox had. Fox Sports 1 was doing the coverage yesterday for the game, and he was coming in and talking about how important it is to have the series down there in Puerto Rico, especially after what happened over this past few months with the weather and the different terrible stuff that came through and ravaged that country, but territory. It's our territory. During the last year. So, I mean, you got to like the fact that all it looks like is some pretty good condition there in San Juan, and they played a very nice game. Definitely talking to them, and he's excited that they're able to get down there and have played the series in San Juan. So they'll have another game coming up tonight, and then they'll have. I think that's going to be it. There's 2 games down in Puerto Rico, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, that was a 2-game series for those 2 teams. As yes, on Thursday they will not be playing. So, 2-game series down in Puerto Rico between the Indians and Twins, which is cool. Again, they got the big guy Lindor going yesterday. He's obviously going to play again today. He's as a position player, but then they obviously it kind of worked out where you have Jose Barrios, another native Puerto Rican, going in today's game for the Twins. So. And then Eddie Rosario probably will be getting in the start, and then you'll probably see Roberto Perez for the Indians starting behind the plate for Carlos Carrasco. So lots of Puerto Ricans playing in their home stadium, and in their hometown, or I don't know if it's not their hometown, but definitely their home island down at Hiram Bithorn Stadium, probably a stadium they played in a bunch for the Puerto Rican national team, as they definitely had a showing last year in the World Baseball Classic. That was pretty nice. Did get beat by the U.S. though, so U.S. finally stacked their lineup the way they were supposed to stack their lineup, and got their first World Baseball Classic champion or title in the existence of that tournament. So you gotta like that. All right. Now we're going to get to some more games that went on, or are going to be going on today. I know the game in Chicago has already been postponed. We'll see if the game in New York goes on as it's supposed to be. The Blue Jays look like they fixed their roof, so it should be fine. The Brewers have a roof, so they should be fine. The Tigers game, I don't know how the weather's doing. They're playing their game at 7 o'clock local time. Let's see the weather in Detroit. I'm just trying to preemptively see if any of these games are going to be talked, because I talked a lot about that. On Monday, I talked a lot about the Cubs and Cardinals, and they didn't even play their game on Monday. So I was like, yeah, well, it's 35 degrees in Detroit, but I don't think, there might be some rain and snowing throughout the night. So we'll see if they can get that game. And it seems like it's at 7 o'clock game time, or make that 10 o'clock here. So it's actually 10 p.m. here is when they're starting. It's going to start snowing. So we'll see if they get that game in. Orioles and Tigers in Detroit. Pirates, same kind of deal as they're playing the Rockies in Pittsburgh. Obviously both those teams with open stadiums, and they're definitely subject to some nasty weather in both of those cities. So let's see, Pittsburgh, is it the same deal there, as we're getting another snow flurry? They have yet to cancel those games, as they preemptively canceled the game in Chicago. Looks like they're going to try and get in this game in Pittsburgh, even though, again, looks like they're having a 70% to 90% chance of rain. So yeah, I don't know about either of those games going over, so we'll probably stay away when it comes to the preview of those two series. Both those teams are looking like they're going to... actually, they're playing the games... I misread that. They're playing it early. They're playing those games like 9 o'clock Eastern time. 9 o'clock Pacific time. They're both going to play. Those games are going to happen. I misread my little note schedule here. It's AM. Yeah, they're going to play those games. They know how to schedule baseball games around weather, I guess. As well as they can. But yeah, those games are going to happen, as we're going to have the Pirates and the Rockies go and finish up their series. It's going to be Freeland and Cool against Kyle Freeland and Cool and Chad Cool going for the Pirates. And then in Detroit, we're going to have Boyd and Gausman going for the Orioles, Boyd for the Tigers. Both teams scuffling as they sit down in the bottom of their respective divisions. All right, any other good matchups coming up? I already starred that Carrasco-Berrios matchup. I like that one just right off the bat. Rick Porcello is going for the Red Sox today against Tyler Skaggs, who actually had a very nice start to his season. Skaggs sitting at 2-0 with a sub-2 ERA, and then Porcello also under 2 ERA. He's at 1.83 ERA, and he's 3-0 to start off the season. So both these teams going off to hot starts. And then down in LA, down in San Diego, the Dodgers and the Padres will have their final game of this. Actually, I don't know if they're going to play again on Thursday. This is the one thing about these midweek games. Some teams are finishing up their series. Some teams this is game 2. If they didn't play on Monday, this is game 2. If they played on Monday, and then they won't play tomorrow. Like I said, Mondays and Thursdays are the games where they have off days, so we don't get a full slate of games on Mondays and Thursdays as teams prepare for these weekend series. But the Dodgers and Padres are going to have another game in San Diego. Will be Kenta Maeda against Luis Perdomo, who's coming off his suspension that he was handed due to his role in the little brawl. I wouldn't call it a little brawl, more like a big brawl that happened in Colorado last week. Those last week. We actually had 2 brawls. We had the Red Sox and Yankees had a brawl, and then the Padres and the Rockies had a brawl at Coors Field. All right, Garrett Cole coming off of a great start. Probably one of the best starts of the year. I think he had 14 strikeouts in his last start. He's coming off a great start for the Astros, and they're going to be facing off against the Mariners in Seattle. It'll be Garrett Cole against Chris Leake. Both are undefeated. Chris Leake with that 3.5 ERA, Cole just under a 1.3. He got his first win as a Astro in his last time out. So you gotta like that if you are the Astros, seeing a guy like Garrett Cole get out there and pitch well in his new uniform. In Atlanta, you're going to have Velasquez and McCarthy going at it. Both are under 4 ERA. McCarthy looking for his third win of the year. He's 2-0 to start off the season nicely. Both these teams who are supposed to be kind of sitting down in the stellar of their division are right in the middle of the division, with Washington actually underneath them. Washington's only 9-9. Atlanta is 9-7. The Phillies at 10-6. I mean, Gabe Kapler, after getting booed in his first or second game, I think, in Philadelphia, has his young Phillies team playing well. I mean, they weren't deemed to be a bad team this year. They were supposed to be a team that was going to probably be a little. I mean, I wouldn't call it a surprise, but be expected to probably play a lot better than they have the last few seasons due to definitely some talent that's coming up the pike and playing well on the major league level, as they have gone super young. But I mean, that's never a bad thing if we get some young players that can hit the ball and pitch the ball well. So, like that. If you are a Philly fan, they're sitting at 10-6, and they will go against the Braves in Atlanta at SunTrust Park once again today, this afternoon out in Atlanta. All right, Mets and Nationals are going to finish up their series in New York. Mets trying to avoid the sweep. It's going to be Steven Matz hosting against Tanner Roark. Both sitting at 1-1 with a 3.5 ERA, 3.7 ERA for Matz. So you got, both those. That's a pretty even matchup right there. The lefty Matz and the righty Roark are going to be going at it out in Flushing, New York. All right, so that's pretty much it regarding any games that I wanted to highlight. Cole Hamels does start today for the Rangers. Want to let you guys know that, and that's about it. We're going to have a couple other games. Those other games are going to be getting started pretty soon here, as they're going to try and avoid the weather and get those getaway games going early to avoid the weather. So that's going to be 9:35 Pacific time start, or local time. It's probably, Pittsburgh is in the Eastern time zone, right? Or close. 12 o'clock start there, and then a 12 o'clock start also for the Tigers and the Orioles, as they're playing in Detroit before the snow and the rain comes and the weather hits again out in the Midwest. So we'll come back with the rest of this lovely GSMC Wednesday baseball podcast, and we'll talk about kind of whatever I want to going on in Major League Baseball. We'll get to some weather. We'll probably talk about some of the good performances going on. We'll talk about some Shohei Ohtani as we continue on and finish up this baseball podcast in the final segment, and we'll be right back with all of that.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores a goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. We are in the final segment here on this Wednesday podcast. We'll be back for a show on Friday as well to cover all of your MLB baseball needs. Eventually, we're going to get to some college basketball, and college football are not part of the show. But baseball, this is the baseball podcast. We will get to some college baseball stuff as we get closer and closer to the summertime, and some of those rankings start coming to fruition. We get into the tournament with the regionals and super regionals, and then obviously the College World Series in Omaha. We'll definitely be covering that as we get closer to it. Right now, we're pretty much talking about baseball and major league level. That is. However, the last segment, we were talking about some top players in the major leagues. I know MLB just came out with their top 50 players, and they're saying Mike Trout is the clear number one. I mean, who comes next? I mean, you got to put Bryce Harper underneath it. Let's see what they say. They're going to put. They say Mike Trout number one, Clayton Kershaw number two, and actually, I do kind of agree with that, because Mike Trout, obviously, I've been saying it for a long, long time, the fact that Mike Trout is the biggest. The Angels have not been able to take advantage of the biggest gift ever that you can get on a Major League Baseball team. And that, I mean, he took a hometown deal. He's not going to be like Bryce Harper asking for $400 million in the offseason. I mean, you can go look up his contract that he signed after his rookie contract. I mean, they drafted him midway through the first round, so he didn't get that much of a signing bonus anyways. Saved a lot of money on that. But, I mean, he's a guy who has been none other than unstoppable at the plate. I know he's had to deal with like a little bit of injuries, but the Angels have they made the playoffs once with him one time, and they got swept by the Red Sox, I'm pretty sure. And that was like 3 years ago. So, yeah, they have had it was a record, but they definitely could have gone. Could have asked for more when it came to the contract that he signed through 2020. He signed it through 2020 for $144 million. That would be, it was a 6-year contract extension. So I mean, 6 years, $144 million. Yeah, that's a steal. If you're the Angels, that's a steal for a player like Mike Trout. I mean, the Marlins signed before they were able to dump the salary, Giancarlo Stanton to 10 years. I think it was like $310 million. So it's 4 more years, 4 more seasons, and $160 million more. Give or take. I mean, yeah, that doesn't really add up, but $156 million more if you want to do the exact math there for 4 years. Versus he got 6 years for $144. So if you're able just to extrapolate it out, but yeah, I mean, that for a guy of the caliber of Mike Trout, who hasn't been able to get the pitching staff behind him in order to get a team like the Angels to the playoffs. I mean, look at that. The Houston Astros in their division got to the playoffs, won the World Series. Boom, bam, boom. Thank you very much. Wipe your hands with that one. Thank you guys for your World Series title, Astros fans. I love that one. I mean, I've already talked about it kind of with the whole fact that Astros have made tanking relevant and have kind of noticed that put people on notice that it does work, but you have to be really bad, because I mean, the difference between a first pick and like maybe even a third pick can be the difference between having a top prospect or guy who's a bust. I mean, that's the difference. And they've made some nice pickups. I mean, they had the first pick. Carlos Correa is obviously the poster child for the number 1 picks that ended up panning out quite well for them. And then obviously they've always had a stacked minor league farm system with, I mean, the guys like Alex Bregman and Springer, Dallas Keuchel, who's actually been on the team for a while. But even Jose Altuve, who they found, he begged and crashed and clawed to get to the major leagues, and now he's an American League MVP and a World Series champion. So if you're the Angels and Mike Trout, you gotta be like, what the heck is going on here? We have the best player in the league, and we went and got the other best player, the guy who used to be the best player in the league, and Albert Pujols. I mean, maybe they just a little retread there, but Albert Pujols never really panned out to be the guy they thought that he was going to be when he signed. I remember the other big guy they signed during that offseason was C.J. Wilson, who I don't even think he's not even in the league anymore. So they've had to figure out a lot of different things when it comes to pitching staff. And when it comes to getting their lineup filled out correctly, obviously they won the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes. His first 2 starts were pretty good. He set the world on fire with his big home runs that he hit in his first week or 2 of the season. Now he's kind of looks like he's regressed a little bit not on the plate though. The mound yesterday, he got worked by the Red Sox, made him through a lot of pitches, and then came out with a blister. I mean, I believe that, there probably was a blister. It probably was a blister, but I mean, I don't know why they we took him out. We didn't want to, he threw 66 pitches in 2 innings. He was done. He wasn't really that effective. So whether it was his blister that was affecting his pitches that were keeping him out of the strike zone or allowing the Red Sox hitters to work the count, I don't know, but they said it was a blister. So whatever, it was a blister. All right, number 2, Clayton Kershaw. Got to agree with that. Clayton, I mean, yeah, he's a pitcher, so he only plays about 30 to 35 games in the season. Then, obviously, in the postseason, he's had a well-documented performances in the postseason due to the fact that not all of them have been very good. I mean, he did get his team to the World Series last year, but then, I don't want to say any. No, I want to say any of the normal sports references when it comes to epic fails in the postseason. But yeah, he didn't perform up to his ability in the World Series, as he was tagged for a few big clutch home runs after pitching pretty well through the game, but then just puts that one ball in the middle of the plate and gets tagged for a few runs. So, and when you're going up against guys like Keuchel and Justin Verlander, you got to be pretty perfect. Because the Dodgers lineup was very well put together. I mean, Cody Bellinger set the world on fire last year with his power. Corey Seager's a very nice hitter from the left side, good shortstop as well. And they obviously have Justin Turner, who had a breakout season last year as well. So Kershaw, but I can counter that with all the guys on the Astros, with the Altuves and the Springers and the Correas and the Bregmans and the Gurriels, all these guys who got massive hits, timely hits, big home runs, and a lot of them against Kershaw. But Kershaw's sitting in that 2 spot. Jose Altuve number 3. So we're still waiting for Bryce Harper, because he's actually number 5. Just a little FYI, he's sitting behind his own teammate and Max Scherzer, another pitcher, and then Jose Altuve at number 3. Which you do have to agree, because he gets a lot on base, a lot of hits. He's got how many seasons? He has 4 seasons in a row now with 200 hits. They all love these WAR rankings, so wins above replacement, and you got to put Altuve at 5.7 with Kershaw at 5.8. So Kershaw you do like that, but I like everyday players better on these lists than pitchers, because they just play more often. But pitchers do get you wins, and when you have a starter like Kershaw, your percentage of winning goes up quite a bit compared to when you have your 5th starter the day before. But you can even look at it yesterday. Johnny Cueto threw beautiful baseball yesterday. I believe he went 8 innings of. 7 innings of 2-hit ball, no runs allowed, 11 strikeouts, and he got a no decision. Didn't hit with the loss because he didn't give many runs, but his team couldn't hit. His team didn't give many run support. And Patrick Corbin threw a 1-hit shutout, and his team only had to get him 1 run. So pitching is weird. Pitching is definitely weird. You get pitch as well as you can, but if you needed help, obviously. But when hitters, you can help yourself and help your team when you can get the bat on the ball. 4, Max Scherzer. No surprise there. He's a great pitcher. 6 pitchers to win 3 Cy Young. He's won 2 Cy Youngs in a row. 6 pitchers to do it in the National League, joining Clayton Kershaw, Tim Lincecum, Randy Johnson, Sandy Koufax, and Greg Maddux as pitchers in the National League to get the Cy Young 2 years in a row, and now he's won 3 and has become one of the pitchers who has earned a Cy Young award in both leagues, as he did get one with the Tigers in 2013, I believe. Harper's at 5. We'll stick with the top 5 because it does get actually the top 10 are pretty nice. Joey Votto sneaks in there at number 9. But yeah, we'll just list off the top 5 and the rest of the top 10 after talking about Harper here, as he's waiting for this season to show out for him, as he's definitely coming to a hot start and needs to keep it going, because he's the guy who's been reportedly expecting a $400 million contract. We'll see if he gets it in the offseason. I don't know how well you can think about it now after this past offseason, and how players have just been begging and waiting for contracts and having to take less money and been trying to hold out and such, and just teams like, nope, sorry, not going to happen. So we'll see what he's going to do, but his WAR is definitely up there at 4.9. If he can keep that batting average up, where the year it was around 330, where he had it when he won the MVP in 2015. But definitely he needs to keep that back up, keep that batting average up, keep those home run totals up like he did. He had a resurgent 2017 after a dismal 2016. But definitely something that he needs to work on and keep it going throughout the season if he wants to get that big contract from whatever team he decides to go to, because it's pretty much up to him. All right, to finish out the top 10, I'm just going to list them off. You got Corey Kluber, the pitcher for the Indians. That's pretty accurate. Nolan Arenado, love him. Not only does he a feisty player, likes to get in fights, but he can hit the cover off the ball and play a very, very mean third base. Got a great glove. I mean, he's won 5 Gold Gloves. So I mean, you gotta like that, and he's a great hitter. All right, Chris Sale, number 8. That's good. He's had a nice little season with the finished the season nicely with the Red Sox last year. Had a nice start to the season this year. Joey Votto at 9. I guess just because he's got a good glove and a good bat. He's a nice little combination when it comes to all those metrics that you have. His WAR is at 5.3. Well, maybe that's because of. Is that just do they count who the replacement would be for the Reds? Does that factor into it? The fact that he's on the Reds and his wins above the replacement the Reds will be able to find for him is probably accurate, if not higher. And then coming in at number 10, which I think I would have flip-flopped with him and Joey Votto, was Carlos Correa at number 10. Yeah, see, last year's rake was 9, so I don't know why I flip-flopped him, but yeah, Votto, I guess, got up there because he actually does hit well under the radar. So, but Correa's at 9, so you gotta, at 10, so you gotta just take that for what it is. I didn't make the rankings. I can make my own rankings. Maybe I'll do that on Friday. I'll make my own rankings, but I do agree with some of these, not with all of them. All right, as we come to the end of the show here, on a Wednesday, went over a lot of stuff that happened over Monday and Tuesday. Talked about what happened in Puerto Rico yesterday. We'll probably talk about what's going to happen tonight on Friday for sure. See if Francisco Lindor can hit another home run and send that crowd into a tizzy once again. I mean, I urge you so much to go watch that highlight. It'll give you goosebumps seeing how that. it was like a playoff game times 2 in there in that stadium in San Juan when that ball went over the fence. As Lindor definitely was trying to pump the crowd up. He's raising his arms, pumping the crowd up when he was rounding the pillows there in San Juan with Orange Stadium. So, also went over the comments that Anthony Rizzo came out with yesterday regarding the length of the baseball season and how many games they play, and how he doesn't want to play in the cold. I think that's one of the bases of his comments, the fact that he doesn't want to play in the cold, or just the fact that they just play a lot of games, which is true. They do play a lot of games. And then we went over some games that are going to be coming up tonight and tomorrow, and then some stuff that we had regarding the rankings. As MLB has come out with their top 50 rankings, we went over the top 10 of those rankings, just talking about how much I agreed or disagreed with those rankings. All right, so that'll wrap it up for the show today. Until Friday, everybody have a good day, a good time, and enjoy your baseball. It is on every day, just like Anthony Rizzo likes it every day. So be back on Friday for another GSMC Baseball Podcast. Have a good time until then.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.